Ladies and gentlemen, one of my favorite things about the TV show From is its abundant cast of characters and how strong they all are. This is the true definition of an ensemble show. Unlike shows like The Walking Dead, where they try to claim they are, but it's really a story about one character. Anyway, in this video we are going to be doing a tier list of all of the characters who have some form of a primary speaking role. So with that out of the way, let's jump right in. This is the list. You have S, A, B, C, and D. Your standard tier list. S is GOAT tier, D is poop tier. So we're just going to kind of go down the list and go from there. First off, we have Abby Stevens. Easy pick for me. I'm probably going to go C tier. It was close to D tier poop, but I don't think I can give poop. Abby is just kind of there. She had a limited role in the series, but her focus was on Boyd. Like, she was kind of a foil for Boyd, and everything that she did was awful. So all she did in every scene she was in was really just to serve some sort of plot point for Boyd, and she did only negative things, so there's not much positive I could say about her. She started mowing people down when she got here, and then she was trying to deter Boyd later in the show from destroying the box, which, as of right now, we think is a bad thing. I'd imagine it is, but who knows? Yet to be determined. I don't have much to say about her, so we're going to move right on. Up next, we have, what is her name? Acosta is the cop's name. I'm going to give her poop tier. Right now, I don't like Acosta. She's arrogant. She's obviously meant to be this angry cop. I'm not a fan of it. Obviously, when you come into the From town, she is one of those characters who is just resisting everything, which makes sense because she's a cop, but it's to the point where it's becoming an issue for our characters, and I don't like that, so can't say that I'm a fan of her. I think the bus driver's name is like Bakta, something like that. Let me see. I have the wiki up here because of this specific thing. I think her name is Bakta. Let's double check that. Bakta. There we go. We got Bakta. All right, so Bakta, I think she's a B tier. I think she was very, obviously, as most are, like we kind of mentioned, she's very agitated in the beginning, but she slowly came to terms and is now trying to essentially take over the diner and, be the next cook of the diner, which I liked. I thought that was really good character development. You could tell she wants to help out now that this is her future. So big fan of her. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan, but I'm a fan of her. That's really the best I could give. Next, we have Kenny's dad. Not too much to give. He was a season 1 character who obviously served to pretty much just die for Kenny. But what I saw was stuff I liked. So I think I'm going to give him a B tier. He was a really nice guy, really nice character. Not much else to say. And I don't know why I don't have this one for later, but at least we have Victor at the end. So Boyd Stevens, does this go without saying he is an S tier? What I love so much about Boyd is he doesn't really have all the machinations to be a leader. Like, if we're used to conventional leaders like Rick Grimes, for instance, in TV history, that's not Boyd. Boyd's not like that at all. So seeing him and being the way that he is just great because he's angry, he's a little arrogant, he makes poor decisions, and those things make for a really compelling story. I am a huge fan of following Boyd. I'm a huge fan of all that he brings to the show. His own series of issues that he has, whether it was like in season 2, where he got the worms in him from the blood and all of that, or whether he killed Smiley, or just him discovering everything. But the one thing I guess I'm not that big of a fan of with Boyd, which I think I'm going to save for a more in-depth series review, is the fact that he keeps really obvious things that you should share away from people. And I know that's a common complaint of the series itself, but Boyd in particular, you'd think the leader would confide in some people about real things he's seen. Also in the same vein, I guess you'd kind of want to keep that from the people because of the fact that they are, it's scary or whatever. I don't know. But that's my only complaint. I love Boyd. Boyd is a phenomenal character. Boy in White. I think Boy in White so far from what we've seen with him, and especially in season 3, what we got with him and Victor, I'm going to go with an A tier. Obviously, he's the only one on this list that I guess you could consider like one of these creatures, but he does have a little bit more of a primary role in the show, and for that, he's on this list, which is interesting because I didn't put Miranda on this list, but I would say she has more lines than him. I just figured there's not much there because there's no character, it's just memories of this person. So at least Boy in White is like somewhat a character and communicates with our people and guides them in places. That's why he's on this list. Obviously, we know what he did with Tabitha, and we know that was for a good reason. And I think we're discovering that reason was to essentially bring, what's his name? Henry, I think his name is, Henry Kavanaugh, which is Victor's father, into the story. I feel like that's the reason why that happened. I think he's done a lot of good for our group. So overall, big fan. Up next, we have Dale, poop tier. Poop, poop, poop. Not a fan of Dale, and I think that really doesn't really need much of an explanation. He was an asshole. He stabbed Ellis, which is absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe he did that. That's like absolutely insane, but he did, and that's really all I could say about him. He was just an asshole. But you know who wasn't an asshole that was in the colony house that I'm a gigantic fan of, who might be my favorite character of the whole show? Donna. Donna's S tier, and I think Donna, I was going to say above Boyd, no, but very, 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 very close. Donna, her actress, does a fucking phenomenal job with this character. Donna also just in general feels more like a real human than most characters in TV shows do. So I really, really applaud her character for that and her actress for that. And just all in all, I am a big fan of her. I'd love to get a drink with Donna, personally. That would be like someone who I would absolutely love to get a drink with. Big fan. I love Donna. There's not enough I could say about her. I love her community. I love the way her actress plays her. I love her arrogant being, but like also very kind being. I love that she's flawed, all of it. I'm a huge, huge fan of Donna. She feels real. She feels more real than like any Walking Dead character. She feels more real than majority of the characters in this show. I'm just a big, big fan of her. She doesn't get enough praise. I fucking love Donna. Next up, we have Elgin. Poo-poo. He's a poo-poo guy. Not a fan of Elgin, obviously. And I mean, I felt a little bad for him with what Sarah did to him in the finale, but not a fan. Not a fan at all. I'd be good if he never came back. Obviously, he thought he was doing something good in the end of season 3, and I get that. But still, even with that, not a fan. Poop. Just straight up poo-poo. Not a fan. Okay, up next, we have Ellis. Ellis is, you guys might be surprised with this one. I think Ellis is a B tier character. I don't love Ellis. I think the reason for this is there's nothing substantial. Now, remember that B tier is still good. Like, it's not a bad character. I just don't think there's anything standoutish about Ellis. I think there's more interesting things, obviously, with his dad and his relationship with his dad. And I also think there's more interesting things with Fatima, but I don't really think any of those things translate directly to Ellis. He's just kind of there. He gets angry, but he's also just like trying to do the right thing, I guess. I don't know. Like, I wish I had more to say about him. I just don't think they've given his character anything super crazy yet, which is something I would absolutely love to see. Just in general, I don't know. I'm a little bit in between on his character. I think he could use some really good story, and it just hasn't happened yet. So anyway, up next we have Ethan. I think Ethan also fits in a similar position to Ellis. I'm either going to put him in B tier or A tier. I'm thinking A tier because at least Ethan's story, he's optimistic about what's going on. And for a kid his age, he understands what's going on to a certain degree, to the point where it's helping him mature. And similar to Carl in I was going to say in Rick Grimes, similar to Carl in The Walking Dead, Ethan's a kid who adapted to this world. And I like that. And I hope they expand his character even further. And as the actor gets older, one, I wonder what they're going to do about that, because they're not seemingly doing time skips. Although at the end of season 3, it left a little bit of room for a time skip, I guess, technically. But the actor is getting older. So are they going to change actors, or how are they going to handle this? I don't know. But regardless, I do like Ethan. I like his storylines. I like how he has a relationship with this boy in white, how he has ties to Victor. how he's adapting to this world. It's all there, and I'm a very big fan of it. So while he's not like a favorite, he's pretty good for what he is. I'd say, in my opinion, he's better than Ellis. Personally, that may be controversial. I understand that, but it is what it is. Okay. Up next, we have another heavy hitter. We have Father Khatri. Father Khatri's an S tier, gone too soon. I loved Father Khatri in season 1. I even loved his reincarnation or whatever, the visions of him from Boyd in seasons 2 and 3. I'm glad they kept his actor involved in those 2 seasons, because I really do think they just killed him off too soon, and I think that's a flaw of season 1. Not that I think season 1 was flawed, because overall, as you guys may know, I don't. I think it was a very good season of TV. It was a phenomenal season of TV, but I think Father Khatri was just an outstanding character, gone too soon. There's not much more I could say. I think he was outstanding. He would have been great because he's this very flawed, which as you'll notice, a lot of the characters in S tier have these flaws about them. That's what makes this show so good. Each of them have their own dramas, but Father Khatri in particular is this priest. He's supposed to represent good, but he's also kind of rooting for the harshest of things that you could do in some ways. Like, he pushes Boyd to limits, and Boyd, who is an ex-Marine, doesn't even agree with some of these limits. And I love that. He's kind of like Father Gabriel, but not like Father Gabriel. I don't know. I'm a very big fan of Khatri. Up next, we have Fatima. Fatima in seasons 1 and 2 was almost an S tier for me, to be honest with you. Season 3, even though it was probably her biggest season, I wasn't ultimately that big of a fan of her story arc, personally. But she's an A tier. I really do like Fatima. I think she is great. She represents a lot of hope among the people. I think a little bit of that was kind of shattered in season 3. Not to say it was like a bad thing, but it was a part of what possessed her, essentially, if that makes any sense. I don't know how to describe that, and I haven't really had time to put together my overall thoughts about that whole story arc, but just going off of right now, I think she's just a solid A-tier character. She's really great. I think she's better than Ellis. I think she has a bigger role in a lot of ways than Ellis. That's why, like, if you're seeing this full picture with the two of them and their separation, I think if you put them next to each other, I think Fatima's going to win every time. I like Ellis. I'm not saying I don't, but you see what I mean? Like, Fatima just has more there. I don't know. I really like her. Big fan. I hope her story arc gets a little bit better in season 4. Again, not that it was terrible in season 3. I wasn't a big fan of the whole pregnancy arc. It wasn't my thing. The ending was insane of it, but wasn't a big fan of it. In retrospect, pretty interesting, but watching it week by week, even though I binged it, must have been pretty rough, just being honest with you. Up next, we have Father, the drunk guy in the beginning of season 1, who got put in the box. The only reason he's on this list, he wasn't going to be, and I forget his name, guys, sorry about that, but the only reason he's on this list is because he didn't just have like a single one-off line. He kind of had his own series of episodes of an arc, and I really did like that arc. There wasn't much to say about him, but I'm going to give him a C tier. That's why he's in this list. He was fine. He wasn't like outstanding or anything, but I think he had some sort of substance within the story that I think it's important to share. So yeah, he's on the list. He's a C tier. Up next, we have Henry Kavanaugh, and he is an A tier for me. I'm a big fan of the fact that they introduced this storyline in general. I mean, I think there's a little bit of wasted potential there with Tabitha going back to the real world and that whole thing, but also in the same vein, what was she going to do? Regardless, doesn't matter. Henry is a really cool character who I'm very, very, very glad is on this list. I'm very glad he was in the show, and I'm glad the writers thought of this story to bring a Kavanaugh back into the forefront. I'm also glad that we're going to get into Victor later. I'm not even going to talk about it right now, actually, but I really do like him. I like that, obviously, he had to eventually just accept the fact that all his family was dead, but then when he comes back, he has this hard time just being a father to Victor. It makes perfect sense. It's a great storyline, and I'm a big fan of Henry. I'm glad he's in the show. Up next, we have Jade. This is a no-brainer. He's an S tier. I absolutely love him. Is he an arrogant prick? Yes, but obviously I think he's like the key to one of the most important characters within this show. I really like what they've done with him. I like that they've kept the fact that he's a bit of an asshole, but over time he's developing into a better person, and that's through characters within the story like Tan Chen. I think that's how I pronounce her name. I apologize if that's incorrect, but I'm glad that he's being molded by the people around him, especially his relationship with Tabitha. I'm a big fan of that. I'm just a big fan of him overall, and I like that he's kind of going mentally insane, trying to solve the mysteries of this town. But I really like him. I think he has a heart, even though he acts like an asshole. I'm a very, very big fan of him, and I hope we get more with him. Kind of like we got a lot in season 3 with Tabitha being kind of like the central focus, which I'm glad about because Tabitha is amazing. But I hope in the next season we see a little bit more of a shift in that regard towards him, because I forget the name of the character that he was supposed to be when now he's reincarnated into Jade, but I forget the name of the character he was supposed to be originally. But I hope they do more of like bridging that storyline in season 4. Time will tell. I think we have like a year to wait before that's the case, but whatever. Anyway, this is going to be probably my most controversial pick on this list. There is one character in all of From history that I'm not really a fan of, and he's meant to be a huge character, and that is Jim. I do not like Jim. He's a C tier character for me. Honestly, he's very close to a D tier character for me, to be completely honest with you. I don't like anything this man's done, period. I'm not a fan of any of it. I do like the concept of them radioing. That was cool, but I just don't like the character. I think he's an asshole. I don't think he was willing to do really anything, despite him apparently trying to do things this show. I haven't put a word on it yet, but I'm just not a fan of him. All he did was try to protect his children when he wasn't like, which I get as a father. Obviously, you want to protect your children at all costs, but he was doing it in such a closed-minded way that prevented him from seeing what was really going on around him, despite thinking he did. I guess that's my only way to explain it, and I think he was written really well. I think he was written to be this way on purpose, but I just don't like him. I'm not a fan of him, and quite frankly, when he died at the end of season 3, I was happy about it. I'm not a big Jim fan. I'm just not. Like, I mean, his actor was good. It's nothing against his actor. It's just him. It's just the way I think he was positioned within the story to kind of be closed off. And I think a lot of that comes to the fact that Tabitha brought him here in a sense unwillingly. Same with obviously Julie and Ethan. But something about his resistance to this whole thing, even though he's willing to try, he wasn't willing to do the things necessary to take it to the next level. Unlike Jade, unlike Tabitha, unlike Boyd, unlike Khatri, I was going to say Donna, but definitely not Donna. But do you get my point? Like, I just think he was very close-minded. Maybe I'll like him more on a second viewing, because I do plan on rewatching this show like tomorrow. I'm not kidding. I went through this series in a span of, I think it was like a week, I think. So I definitely plan on kind of slowing down the pace and rewatching now that I've seen it all play out. But on first viewing, I was 100% not a Jim fan. If that's controversial, let me know. If you really liked Jim, let me know. I didn't. I just didn't. There's nothing there that compelled me towards Jim, period. He's very close to a D tier. I'm surprised he's not there, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm being dramatic. I don't know. Now, the next character on this list is Julie Matthews. And I am teeter-tottering on where to put her. Part of me wants to really give her an S tier, but part of me also thinks she's more fitting in an A tier, but at the top of an A tier. I think she's an S tier. And I was going to say A tier, but the more I'm trying to compare and contrast Julie and Ethan, I think there's so much more intrigue here with Julie, given her age, given now what she's seen in season 2 and being like entrapped or whatever you call it. And now having this thing where she is, I guess, like a time traveler, or could like go back and forth in time to like see events, but apparently not change them, which is a stupid power. honestly. But anyway, regardless, I mean, I guess it's not a stupid power, but like the idea that you can't affect change is kind of interesting. You can only see it. Like, what does that do? Whatever. Anyway, I do like her. I like her development. She's not, which I'm very happy about. She is not just some like angsty teen. She's had much more of a story and had to adapt to this world. She's kind of like all of what made Ethan special at his age, but on steroids here, because she at least is now getting powers. She's adapting to this world. She's interacting and working with our characters. And I think for that, and Ethan did too, with Victor, with the boy in white, but just this is on a slightly different level. And you could tell she's now stepping into more of an adultish realm. And especially with Jim gone in season 4, I'm excited to see her development there. And especially with her powers or whatever. The reason I think they were going to do a time jump, and the reason I brought this up with Ethan earlier, is because at the end of season 3, we obviously saw a different Julie, one who was clearly from the future, an older version of her. Are they going to do something similar where a few months go by or a year or so goes by after Jim's death? Maybe that might happen. That's the only reason I bring it up. Sorry, that was a random brain dump. I do really, really like Julie. Every time she's on screen, I'm interested to see what happens. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's the only way I could describe her. I'm a big fan of Julie. Next, we have, wow, this whole list from here on out is pretty solid, except for a couple of the characters. Kenny. We have Kenny next. I'm going to give him an A tier. I like Kenny. I think he is probably one of the few examples of characters in this series who just has untapped potential. And I think the writers know that and just haven't done a lot with him. What they have given him is 2 deaths, which are huge, and they are big elements to a story, obviously. I just don't think they've really tapped into the full potential that Kenny could be to put him in the S tier. He's very, very close, but he's not quite there. I will give him at the top of my A tier, though. Like, I think he is a fitting character at the top of my A tier. I don't think there's much else for me to say. Christy, let's think about this. Christy is probably an A tier, maybe a B tier. I'll put her in A tier, but she's at the bottom of my A tier. You know what I mean? There's a lot there. I loved what happened with our next character on the list. And you know what? I'm just going to put them together. She's a B tier, her girlfriend. I love what they did with the drama between Christy and Kenny. And then Christy's girlfriend or fiance comes into the picture later on. That was a beautiful story. But then I feel like it just kind of stagnated from there on out. She just became more of a background character, whereas in season 1, she was a forefront character because of her relationship with Kenny, and then her relationships with Boyd and all of that, which I feel like took a back seat in seasons 2 and then beyond. So I don't dislike her character at all. Like, that, obviously she's an A tier. I don't dislike her character. I just don't think it was fully tapped into, if that makes any sense. So kind of a shame. And I already didn't really say much about her girlfriend or her fiance, but I think it kind of all falls apart when she comes into the mix. And that's where I think the writing of this show, while I've said this show is outstanding and one of my favorite shows now, obviously, I mentioned this in one of my reviews, the writing itself and the cinematography and the acting and all that, it isn't like top notch like a Better Call Saul, but the story is so strong. I think this is an example of where the writing itself kind of falls apart between Christy and her fiance, because like they brought her in. Obviously, the addiction storyline was interesting, but it didn't do enough to really become a primary story, if that makes sense. And I guess it's not like supposed to be, but I don't know. That's how I'm feeling about the two of them. Next up, we have Randall. Randall, I want to love him, but I don't. I want to love him. Part of me wants to hate him. He's just kind of in the middle. I think he fits right now in C tier. Jim being in C tier kind of ruins Randall for me because I'm like, they're in a similar boat to me. But at least Randall, you could tell, is going to be a character who develops more. Like, you could see that already starting. You could see him wanting to be good, trying to be good, but also he's just kind of an asshole too. I mean, you could argue that's similar to Jade, but it's just portrayed differently with Randall here. I like him. I don't love him. I'll put it that way. I wanna love him. I don't really want to hate him. I guess that's the best way I could describe it. Up next, we have Sarah, S tier. Like, that goes without saying. She is probably, this is probably the list for me. Boyd, Donna, Jade, Sarah, Khatri, Julie. That's probably the list in order so far. I mean, we have more characters to explore. Sarah is a fantastic character, just all around. She's broken, but obviously wasn't broken before this, so she's having to come to terms with this town broke her and having to, cope with the fact that everyone around her thinks she's a monster. Truly superb acting, truly superb job. And she's also fucking scary. Like, that's why I like her. I think her actress does just an outstanding job with her. I would fucking love, by the way, if she's watching this video, I would love for her actress to come on the show and we do, an hour-long talk or a podcast or something like that. I would love that. If anyone knows anyone who could get me in touch in a way, I would love that. She'd be a great person to have on the channel and just talk about the show and all of that stuff. As a matter of fact, any of these characters would, but specifically Sarah, man, I love her. She's such a phenomenal character. I'm excited to see where her story continues to go. I think she is a phenomenal character. Her actress is great. Big fan, big fan of Sarah. And another one on this list who at first was lower on my list, but has slowly become an S tier for me is Tabitha. I am a very big fan of Tabitha. I'm going to put her right here above Khatri and above Julie, but behind Sarah. I am a very, very, very big fan of what they've done with her character in seasons 2 and 3. She's clearly taken a huge step above Jim. Clearly, I mean, look at that discrepancy. But I like that we've now come to learn that she's essentially the reincarnated version of Miranda Cavanaugh. I like where that goes. I am a big fan to see where her story continues to go and if she breaks the cycle and becomes the one who beats this thing. I am so interested to see, and I'm glad she's taken more of a primary role. I'm glad people in the Matthews family took more of a primary role, because in season 1, they just felt like background characters who we followed at the start of this thing. That's not obviously true, but that's what they felt like, and I'm glad her story became much more pivotal. So that's good. Next, we have Tan Shen. I think that's how I pronounce her name. I'm a big fan of her. She's an A-tier character for me. Gone too soon, R.I.P. Big fan. Not much to say other than when she was on screen, she brought a lot of heart to the show. Next, we have Tilly. Tilly is, I think, a B tier, maybe a C tier. She's a B tier. She brought a lot of goodness to the group, especially, the group at the Colony House specifically. It's a shame what happened with her and Fatima, but I'm glad even in her dying moments, she understood that it was an accident and it was probably a thing of this town. By the way that she told Fatima to run. Beautiful story there. I was a big fan of that, even though I wasn't a big fan of the pregnancy story at all. Yeah. That's all I really got to say about Tilly. I liked her addition. I think it was a shame that she went the way she did. Tom, who's the bartender, is a B tier. Interesting character. Really interesting that they reincarnated him or brought him back in the form of visions from Jade, and he's cleaning glasses. He's just in the background like this. You know what I mean? Really interesting. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee to that one, which is much better than his potato vodka. Anyway, Tom is interesting. I would have loved for him to stay around more and have more bar scenes of him having like heart-to-hearts with the people in the bar. That would have been interesting. I guess I'd say gone too soon, but I also like the way he went out. And I'm sure he'll be back around similar to what they've done with Khatri. And that's the only reason I say like gone too soon to Khatri, but at least they keep him in the story. Same with Tom. Anyway, I can't remember her name. Is it Marielle? What's her name? Let's see. No, it's not Marielle. Marielle is Christy's. It's Trudy. Trudy is a C tier. I was going to put her in poop, but there's only a few characters that go in poop to me. Not much to say. She was teeter-tottering on me not even being on this list because she barely has a role, but she's there. C tier, whatever. Up next, I saved one of the most interesting characters for last, and that's Victor Kavanaugh. S tier. I'm going to put him above Julie. Yeah, S tier. They're clearly phenomenal actor who plays Victor. He is a very, very, very interesting character. He is, I guess the only thing I can say about Victor is I feel like the writers are limiting what his whole thing is. Like there could be more there for us to explore with Victor. He's giving us a lot, and I love his moments of drama. I really do. But because of the way this town molded him, he's very quiet, and he doesn't give us a lot. He gives us a little bit and then like panics, which I get. He's been here the longest. He definitely has the most PTSD out of anyone here. But I want to see him take on and build a little bit more confidence out of it. And I think they're writing him brilliantly. There's a reason he's being portrayed this way. But I guess I'm just saying my hopes for it. I hope they give him more. I hope they give him more courage in the future and make him a more strong character. And you could see it starting with him and Henry, which I'm very glad about. But yeah, that's the list, guys. My S tier is Boyd, Donna, Jade, Sarah, Tabitha, Khatri, Victor, and Julie. And then everyone else is somewhere in the mix there. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you disagree with. I have a feeling my pick for Jim is probably going to be controversial. Mind you, I haven't been too involved in social media as far as, you know, what people think about characters like him. I've been just catching up on this show and giving my thoughts really just from myself. The only other person I've watched is Dan's reviews for this. I haven't watched like anything else. But I'm interested to see, because I didn't like Jim. Did you guys like Jim? I don't know. He is literally the only character on this list that I just like straight up didn't like. Like there's D tier characters on this list, but they're there because they're written as D tier characters. Jim, was he written to be a better character? Was he like, I don't know. He's literally the only one that I just was not a fan of. That's it. Would love to know your list down below. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, or X, I guess you should say. It's at Jerry's_takes. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. It is literally free. It's a free white little button right under me that if you click, it helps me out. And it's like an exchange sort of thing. If you like this video, that white button that says subscribe helps prove that. And I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. It helps me get these videos out to more people. And in return, it means that maybe it gets more exposure on the show, because I do not want this show to get canceled. It's a phenomenal show. With all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.